Okay, breaking news from America. In Portland, Oregon, under the Menstrual Dignity Act, menstrual products will be installed in all boys' bathrooms starting with the new school year in September, because it's totally unfair that little Jimmy should have to be embarrassed every time it's his time of the month, every time he's being visited by his Aunt Flo, as the American expression has it, or indeed his Uncle Flo, as the case may be. Did you see this story in the Times this month? The whole country supports trans rights. That's what Robert Colville says. Well, I look at that. The whole country supports trans rights. I've got to say, I totally disagree with that. Oh, wait, what the hell am I saying? I'd like to keep what passes for my career and not render myself totally unemployable. So yay, trans, the more the merrier. I love a be-penised woman. The other kind seems so passé now. What are my pronouns? You're probably wondering. Well, actually, I've just opened my heating bill and think it might be time to identify as a British thermal unit, at least until the spring evenings warm up a bit. Speaking of energy costs, are we all being gaslit by the UK's ghastly groupthink media? Not just on trans rights, but the virtues of mass immigration and all kinds of other subjects. Laura Perrins is one of the founding colossi at the Conservative Woman website, and she thinks so. It's great to see you, Laura. I don't believe this for a moment, this story in the Times, and I certainly don't believe the stuff about immigration, because that is one... objecting to the trans thing is all a bit complicated for some people, and you get clobbered and you pay social consequences if you're not cool with it. But people actually are quite upfront on the immigration thing, and they don't buy into this idea that we're all panting for more mass immigration, do they?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, in the piece I wrote today for the website, there were two headlines that were about, say a week apart, one in the Sunday Times and one in the Times. And I remember when I first saw the transgender headline, it was on a Sunday, I think quite relaxed. I just really had to do a double take. I was just thinking, like, are they actually serious about this? I mean, granted, of course, the columnist never writes the headline, and the piece was quite nuanced. But, this idea, I can just see the pitch for it. Well, let's go with that. The whole country supports transgender rights. And another guy, the whole country? Really? Do you think we can go with this? I'm not too sure about that. And then it goes back and forth, right, in the room. And they're like, yeah, just put down the whole country. And then to see this other piece, on immigration. Again, I mean, the first half is perfectly fine. I mean, he laid out the numbers, essentially saying, if you didn't know it, all the numbers are going up, by the way. The government aren't telling you, but that's what's happening. So he's actually done a service. But again, it's wrapped up with this idea, and a lot of it, both pieces were heavily reliant on polling, by the way, which I've always been highly, highly suspicious of. And essentially they say, look, everybody's on board with this transgender thing. The majority of people super relaxed about the immigration, just so very relaxed. And that, I think, was the exact word he used, which again sort of, raised eyebrows. I was like, it's not really a subject that I feel people are relaxed about. And I was just thinking, it's sort of an obsession of mine now, is that are they just lying to your face? Is this a way to manipulate you? What I think happens is the polling companies get together, and without wanting to be sued, they sort of get their polling together, and then this is thrown at you, right? That you now are in the minority. The position that you once held, namely that men are men and women are women, you're now a minority on this. And then this sort of filters down to the columnists, and then they can all push it out. So then you're left reading your Sunday Times, on a Sunday, and suddenly you're told, actually, you're part of the minority. So, you want to get on this transgender train. And this actually pushes people onto the train. And that, I think, is why I use the term gaslighting, right? Because it comes from the film where the husband is saying, look, you're the crazy one, when, of course, he's manipulating her. And these headlines and the pieces, and I believe the polling, are highly, highly manipulative.
Yeah, I think that is certainly true. I mean, I think the reality on the immigration thing, I think the reality is no developed nation needs mass unskilled immigration, because all those jobs in 5-10 years are going to be done by robots or artificial intelligence or whatever. So the economic rationale for immigration, which people like the Wall Street Journal were very keen on, that ship has sailed. It's over. It's gone. People want at heart. The reason that issue is salience in Britain is because if Britain's done for, people would at least like to die in a Britain that's recognisable as Britain, like in the way that the Japanese want to die in a nation that's recognisable as Japan. So this whole thing is designed, I think, to suppress any honest conversation on the subject. To say, as you put it, no, it's over and your side has lost and we're going to go door to door and shoot the survivors, so you might as well jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, well, I definitely think it's used as a way to shut down debate. This is the same thing as, you're on the wrong side of history. Well, who says I'm on the wrong side of history? You say it. Who are on the opposite side of the debate to me. I don't think I'm on the wrong side of history. Thanks very much. So again, it's just a rhetoric used to shut down debate. I mean, in terms of the details of the immigration, I mean, I do agree with you. There are a lot of jobs that will go, will be automated. But I do think there's a real issue there in what the columnist did say, and I think he's probably right in that the birth rate is tanking, as you know, which it's a bit. You talk about fertility rate collapsing a lot. And we do need immigrants to look after our old people and also look after the kids, because so many nursery workers are, they're not, they haven't been born in the UK, and everybody stuffs their kid in nursery. They're not willing to look after their child themselves. So somebody who's willing to do it for low pay has to do it instead. And if you pushed, the general population on this, then I think people do start getting uncomfortable. They're certainly not relaxed, because then you start asking very personal, tough questions as to, well, why don't you want to look after your kids? That can't be done by a robot ever. Or why aren't we looking after Granny? Also, I know in Japan, actually, they might be doing that, which is, unbelievable.
Robots looking after Granny.
You can't get a robot to do that. So it does contain there are some tough questions behind the immigration thing, but the idea that we're all super relaxed about it is clearly a lie.
Thank you very much for that, Laura. It's always good to see you. And you are right that in Japan, the old folks increasingly are looked after by robots. They have apparently very realistic hands that are all soft and pampering and caressing, and not like the hard, calloused hands of actual NHS workers. So that's where the Japanese are on this.
I think they have dolls.
Thank you very much for that.
They have dolls.
Yeah, they do. They have dolls.
The kids.
Yeah, to be the grandkids you don't have. They have dolls that can hold simple conversations with you, which are actually more sophisticated than your average ASBO lad of an 11-year-old ASBO type could have with you. So they're impressive, the Japanese, on these things. I may get a robot grandkid myself.